Hey everybody, welcome to another Rackspace Office Hours Hangout. My name is Alan Bush, and we are broadcasting live from the Castle, San Antonio headquarters of Rackspace. I'm here with...
This is Drew Cox.
Hey, it's good to have you all on the show again, Drew, as usual. We are just now getting started with a great new product and feature service that we have here at Rackspace, and really wanted to get more information out about that. And so we have two great rackers here with us today, Erik, Carlin, and Tom Bressie. Guys, I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tom, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been a racker, and what do you do here at Rackspace?
Sure. My name is Tom Bressie. I've been with Rackspace for about 2 years. Since walking in the door, I've been involved with cloud in one form or another, mostly working with our OpenStack public cloud. In the last few months, getting our Fanatical Support for AWS product out. I've been involved with cloud for quite a while in my career. Before this, doing product and technical marketing, product management, and some circuit design, believe it or not.
Awesome. And
great. Yeah.
I'm Erik Carlin. I've been a racker about 7.5 years. I had a couple tours of duty at Rackspace. I started in a group 7.5 years ago called Rack Labs, which built out some of our initial cloud technologies. Second tour of duty was really around OpenStack and helping launch the OpenStack project. I was part of our founding team that did that, and then launching our public OpenStack cloud. And then earlier this year, I switched full-time to building out our Fanatical AWS work, and I lead product engineering for our Fanatical AWS business unit.
Great. Well, it's definitely great to have you both on. You've done a lot of really cool things here at Rackspace, and I'm really excited about this product offering. Real quick, before we jump in and learn more about this, let's just encourage anybody that's watching this from the internet to jump in and join the question. We've already got a couple of different questions that have been asked by our viewers, and so we'll jump in and answer those as we go along. But anybody that's watching out there, there's a couple of different ways that you can get in touch with that you can answer these questions. So once you're watching at live.ohpodcast.com, right below us is a little question and answer box. Go ahead and drop those questions in, and you can ask questions. We'll answer them on the air. We've already got a couple there. If you want to tweet at us, use that hashtag CloudQA, and we will go ahead and answer the questions that we come across there. But let's get going. One of the first questions that we had here is from me, actually. This is what I want to know, and it's actually about what is Fanatical Support for AWS. Let's get a little bit of an idea of the story and talk about what this means and kind of how we came to this support level. Erik, Tom, you want to take this?
Yeah, let me start, and then Tom, feel free to jump in. So if you think about what Rackspace is best in the world at, we're best in the world at Fanatical Support, and about taking technology and integrating that with human expertise and helping deliver that for our customers and manage and operate that for our customers to help them be successful with technology. So whether it was our early days of doing that with Linux and Windows, or as we sort of moved into the cloud era, we've always sort of lived at that intersection. And as time went on, it just became clear that rather than sort of compete with Amazon and Microsoft, et cetera, that those were just technologies that many of our customers wanted help with and wanted us to help manage. And so it just became clear to us in talking to customers and in the way the market's shaping out that we should have that be an input to our business and help our customers be successful with those technologies. And so really it was it was largely our customers who sort of made it clear to us that that's what they wanted, and so we sought to go help solve some of the pains that they were having, some ways that we can help them be successful. There's really kind of 4 areas that we initially focus on with AWS. It's around helping customers migrate to AWS and sort of get on AWS. That, believe it or not, is quite complicated. Second is helping customers architect properly. AWS has tons of capabilities. It's like sitting down in the cockpit of a massive airplane and seeing tons of dials and tons of options and sort of almost having the paradox of choice, right? You log into the AWS console for the first time and you have 50 services in front of you and you don't know sort of where to begin. So helping sure customers are really architected properly and helping customers understand how to get the most out of AWS. 3, helping them secure AWS and making sure that their environments are secure. And then 4 is sort of what we've really traditionally been good at, which is helping customers operate and run and maintain and manage their environments on an ongoing basis. And a lot of that architecture and security is also not a one-time event. It's something that we continually do as part of our management of customer environments, is helping them sort of grow and mature and sort of progress along the cloud maturity sort of path. We think about our offer in terms of blending 2 things. One is really sort of management, tooling, and automation. And so as an Amazon managed service provider, Amazon has a lot of white papers, a lot of sort of best practices, but they exist at sort of a baseline level. And Amazon has many ways of doing different things, and they don't necessarily take a very highly opinionated view about which of multiple ways you can do things you should, they would just say, here's 5 different ways, 10 different ways, it's up to you to sort of decide. And so as an MSP, we try to take more of an opinionated view about how we think sort of the right way to efficiently use and manage and run AWS is. And so we've taken a lot of that and encapsulated it into some tooling that we make available to customers, and then we blend that with sort of the second pillar of our offer, which is human expertise. And so, tooling and automation gets you a certain percentage away there, but there's always that kind of last mile where you need human judgment, human expertise, design expertise, support when things don't work, etc. And so we take and we blend that tooling and that human expertise, and that's what we call Fanatical Support for AWS.
Yeah, Erik, that you nailed it. I really don't have a ton to add. I think one thing I'd like to call out from that is Fanatical Support is very easy to misunderstand to mean only the human expert side of things. And it was very interesting at reInvent, where we launched our product on October 6th, to be sitting in the first keynote and to have Andy Jassy put up their architecture of all their product catalog, and to have a gentleman behind me make a couple of very pointed comments about how the heck am I supposed to understand all that's in front of me, let alone all the new things that will be introduced. Well, realistically, there's 2 sides to that. There's having the people to help you understand it, but then there's also the key point I want to call out of what Erik said, is that having those tools and services be codified for you in a way that you can take advantage of the platform through an opinion of an expert. So we've already built the tooling to capture that. So Fanatical Support, not purely just human experts in this case, it's the combination of the tooling and automation plus the human experts that make this offer so compelling for our audience.
Yeah, and not to diminish the human expert piece, we view these as equally important. So, Rackspace, in the relatively short time that we kind of built and launched this offer, we already have over 150 certifications throughout our organization, and that number grows every day, every week. And so, there is a certain economy of scale, of infrastructure scale that Amazon gives you, but then it takes people to effectively make use of that technology. And so what we try to deliver is what we call economies of expertise, which is the ability to tap into a pool and a team of talented, certified AWS experts in a very cost-effective way. And so you get kind of the best of both worlds. You get the economies of scale of AWS plus the economies of expertise from Rackspace.
I really like that idea of economy of expertise, and that's absolutely what we've been building up for a long time here at Rackspace, and now we're able to we just have more cloud to share that expertise on.
Well, and your conversation around we have human capital, human expertise, and this tooling and automation. That tooling and automation is really the crystallization and distillation of that expertise in a really pointed and opinionated way that you can repeat. So it's the kind of thing that has been captured and crystallized into a repeatable, useful set of actions, be it automation that you can just push go on, or tooling that you can leverage over and over again for a variety of different issues. So that expertise really blends over both of them. But when you can call a guy who built the tool and get them to help as well, not just bang around through documentation and hope you get it through Stack Overflow or whatever.
Right.
That's where you really amplify the value. Not just well-built tools, well-reasoned approaches, but the people who did the reasoning and the building, you can leverage against taking that the next step forward.
Yeah, Drew, and it really also extends beyond purely the technical perspective. Rackspace, since we declared our position as the leader in managed cloud and actually switched categories, which we have the third-party Gartner validation through, it goes beyond just the technical. I mean, ultimately, the experience customers are going to have coming to us is that we are interested in what your business success looks like. What does a successful business outcome look like for you? And that's why we've built our set of offers, and we make cloud more accessible for users so they can accomplish their business outcomes. So really what we're doing is just drilling down into how we can specifically help you do that on AWS here. But ultimately, this plugs back into our overall managed cloud strategy very, very well.
Yeah, there's a whole other dimension as well. As an example, that's beyond just the technical. If you look at something like cost optimization on AWS, there is many sort of knobs and dials that you can turn to sort of optimize your costs, from choosing different instance types to buying reserved instances to looking at different pricing across regions. And so just helping customers understand the opportunities to optimize their costs on AWS is an important part of the offer as well. And so there's tooling to help you do that, as well as tooling is only as good as the actions that come from that, right? There's many dashboards that exist around the world that are that aren't necessarily monitored, and actions don't come from them. So part of sort of the managed offer is that we can have our experts look at that and work with customers to optimize their costs, and that's beyond just sort of the technical architecture dimensions of the offer.
Well, that's all very good stuff, and I'm really anxious to see more and more of our customers start to take advantage of all of that. So one question that I think comes up a lot is, hey, aren't we competitors with AWS? And so let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, we are certainly competitors, but now at this point we're not, because we're working together. And can you talk a little bit about how that's going on?
Yeah, certainly. And that, Alan, this is a question I hear a great deal. One of the things that our core foundation is to combine world-class service and support on top of the infrastructures that our customers desire to implement to achieve their business outcomes. And ultimately, this has been the strategy. We've been marching down this strategy ever since our inception. We started with dedicated hosting. We still need there. In 2002, we began a partnership with Microsoft, and since then, we've been doing that same strategy. We've been iterating through Microsoft, through VMware, through introduction of our own OpenStack software distribution, which is now governed by that foundation, and then the latest iteration being AWS in 2015. It'd be easy to mistake this as Rackspace infrastructure versus AWS infrastructure and view it only from an infrastructure standpoint. Ultimately, our strategy, it bears repeating, is to provide that service and support to help our customers achieve their business outcomes on the infrastructures they desire to use. So that's why we provide such a broad variety of different infrastructure options. So if you take a look at this move that we just kicked off on October 6th, this is the latest step towards continuing to make that goal real of providing world-class service and support wherever our customers see that they have infrastructure options they'd like to make use of.
Just to add to that a little bit, and maybe just answer the question from a different sort of facet. Our vision as a company is to be the world's greatest service company, and that's always been our vision from the beginning. We happen to exist in the technology space, but ultimately our desire is to help customers be successful with technology, and we love great customer outcomes. Like nothing makes us happier as Rackers to see customers be successful with technology. And so in the early days, again, we weren't dogmatic about technology. If it was Linux or Windows or whatever, different kinds of storage, what have you, we made those available. And our mission, our goal as a company was to deliver Fanatical Support and to help customers be successful. There was a period in our history where we said, let's constrain Fanatical Support to a specific limited technology set. And in that world, we were absolutely competitors with AWS. Again, like I said earlier, it became apparent to us from talking to customers and just kind of the way the market was shaping out that it was going to be a multi-cloud world, that customers wanted what Rackspace had to offer the world on other clouds. And so yes, at one point we were competitors, but when we stepped back and said our mission as a company, what we think we are good at is, again, delivering our expertise and blending that with leading technologies. Why are we being dogmatic about the technology? And that was a pivot for our company, and that's when things changed. And so, earlier this year we launched Fanatical Support for Azure, and then this month we've launched Fanatical Support for AWS. So they were competitors. Now we are partners. So we are an official. We're in the Amazon Partner Network. We have an Amazon Partner team. We have great relationships with that team. We are an official managed service partner, an audited MSP partner. There's only about 30 in the world, of which Rackspace is one. And then we're also an advanced consulting partner, which is one tier below their highest tier of Premier, which we are tracking towards right now. So we have a really good relationship with AWS, and it's just reflective of the pivot and Rackspace's mission now to deliver our expertise on top of the world's leading technologies.
And it definitely bears mentioning that if you take a look at the timeline with which we built this offer, really from saying go to bringing this offer to market, we built a stable of about 150 professional certifications. Erik mentioned this earlier. We've come after this business with both barrels. So ultimately, it's an expression of what fanaticism at Rackspace looks like. When we decided to go after this market, we went after it aggressively. So from 0 to 60 in about 10 to 11 weeks, we've already achieved the second highest tier in the Amazon consulting partner status. And it won't be very long until we achieve the very highest one, and we're just going to continue to pursue this market very aggressively.
Yeah, that's great. We've done a lot. I mean, Drew and I have both actually gotten AWS technical partner certifications as well for that. It's fascinating. I mean, I think there is some validation there. I mean, it's a complex ecosystem, and having to go through all of that recently, I think there's a lot that we can share with our customers, and a lot of ways we can help them to better understand that, especially the ones that haven't been in it yet.
Yeah, I mean, Rackers have been dealing with cloud generally and applying those lessons learned across other virtualization platforms for years. We have a culture of learners who are excited about new technologies and other technologies and are dabbling in things all the time. I mean, if you just walk down one of the aisles of sysadmins and just pick anybody, they'll have some pet project or some curious thing that they're working on. So this is just a natural outcropping of the bent of this company, the direction that we're already headed, and the culture that we have. And so to take on something as big as supporting Amazon is exciting, but it's something that we're clearly capable of, and we'll continue delivering some impressive results as we continue moving forward with building out tooling, offering new things, incorporating more customer stories.
There's plenty of opportunity for us to continue to grow this. One question that I had is, why now, right? So what about this particular time allowed us to launch our Fanatical Support for AWS right now, as opposed to 2 years ago or 2 years in the future?
Yeah, we've been keeping our eye on this market for quite a while, and realistically, the jumping off point has been that strong demand signal from our customers. Like Erik mentioned earlier, truly a multi-cloud world. So we keep a very close relationship with all of our customers. Like I mentioned before, our managed cloud approach is all about understanding what a successful business outcome looks like for our customers. So as we've been keeping an eye on what our customers desire to consume, whether that's form factor, whether that's multi-vendor, we started to see an increasing amount of heat around these platforms. and AWS began to emerge as the leader. Ultimately, when you take a look at this past year, introducing support for Azure and introducing support for AWS are both responses to demand signals we've seen from our customers pulling for those infrastructures. And the use cases that we saw for Amazon, they really they go into a few different categories. So if you think about the ways that we've seen customers approach us, they really have a couple of different needs. One being, I don't have the time or the resources or the expertise in-house to be able to know how to properly get started with AWS. You can experience that as few ways as a customer. Usually new technologies adopted by just getting started and rolling up your sleeves. So you don't really have the proper opinion to know how to set yourself up for success. So you only encounter problems through technical debt for the most part. So imagine yourself walking around in a dark room. You're not even going to know the wall's there until you hit it. So not knowing what's coming. So customers who had that problem, that were starting to grow and scale with AWS, who were also working with Rackspace, would approach us and say, we really could use the benefit of having your expertise to help guide us on this journey. We're tired of hitting walls. We want to do this ourselves, but we're really tired of having to experience the growing pains that I'm sure thousands of other customers in the world have experienced. They'd grown to trust Fanatical Support, so ultimately they came to us given that they had a multi-vendor strategy and we were one of those vendors. That was one way that we experienced it. Another was for a less technical buyer, for like a CMO who was looking to make use of a product like Adobe Experience Manager. They would come to us basically saying, I don't want to deal with infrastructure and I don't want to have the application expertise. I purely want to derive benefit from using the application itself. So ultimately what I'm looking for is for you to provide me a hosted application experience. And then that's where we had the freedom to say, where is it that we want to provide this experience for? So the confluence of those demand signals and really just kind of monitoring the volume of those things, taking a look at when it was the right time for us to jump in and make a business out of this, did all converge in October of this year. So that was ultimately what dictated the timing of the offer. The Amazon platform has been growing at a startling rate. So we know that this offer is going to be at a fantastic pace. Our customers have already been pulling for it. So we're pretty confident we're entering at the right time.
Yeah, I would just add to that Amazon's MSP program is relatively nascent as well. It just started last year, and again, with sort of the pivot in our strategy as a company, from being to being less dogmatic about the technologies that we want to manage and help our customers be successful with. The timing, that's sort of what dictated the timing was customer strategy and to some degree sort of AWS's creation of sort of an MSP program that made it easier for us to sort of engage.
Great. Well, hey, speaking of timing, we have another question here. I don't know how much we can answer of this one, but let's definitely ask this question here from Luke. So when is Fanatical Support for SoftLayer coming? I don't know how much there is, but if there's anything that you can share with us at all about SoftLayer and, of course, any of the other things, is this something that we're going to end with Azure and AWS, or are we looking to support other technologies as well?
Yes, I'll take, Alan, I think I'll take the second half of that question first. This is not something we're going to end with AWS. Ultimately, we can't talk about where we're headed with this, obviously, because those would be forward-looking statements, and we really can't make any disclosures. But this being the latest round, Fanatical Support for AWS, preceded by Fanatical Support for Azure, these are manifestations of our core strategy as a company. So we're continuing to monitor where we believe the market's moving. And ultimately, when we see those strong demand signals from our customers want us to add Fanatical Support, we'll be continually evaluating where it makes business sense for us to jump in and where there's enough critical mass where it makes sense for Rackspace to provide that offering. So can't speak anything specifically when it comes to any vendor, given that would basically be a product announcement. But we are continuing to monitor the market for those demand signals. Luckily, we have such strong relationships with our customers. A lot of those demand signals come from our customers. It's a fantastic vote of confidence for us that our customers are enjoying our support so much that they want our same services support delivered through the same organization on someone else's infrastructure. I think it's easy to miss how much of a compliment that is and how strong of a vote of support it is for the service that we're delivering, that we're even able to deliver that service on other infrastructures. So combine that with our philosophy, like Erik mentioned, of not being dogmatic about specific infrastructure delivery types. We're continuing to look at where the market wants to see our service and support, and we'll continue to make business decisions based on that.
Yeah.
So Luke is providing some of that demand signal, and if he wants to see that, he's going to need to be a little bit louder with his demand signal, get some more people on board.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks for the input, Luke.
Absolutely. And if you're watching live with us and you want to get your questions answered on air as well, one way that you can do that is to tweet at us, just like Luke did. He used the hashtag CloudQA, which pulled that right up into our screens here. You can also ask questions just on the sidebar here in our chat window or below us, and we'll definitely get those as well. So speaking of which, we have another question here from Bill. This is getting a little bit more into the support offering, and Bill wants to know just more specifics about the support offering. So there's some tools out there like Redshift and the storage gateway from Amazon. Are we going to support those, or where does this support start and stop? Can you give us a little bit more information there?
Yeah, I can take that one. So great question. Our support is basically the entire AWS platform. That's the scope of our support. Obviously, we are ramping our knowledge and expertise, and both in terms of our understanding of the AWS platform as well as sort of our operational experience and expertise with the platform. So we recognize that certification is one mark of sort of how you measure expertise, but there's a very real operational dimension to that that's important as well. And so our support of the platform is the entire platform. We do have a relationship with AWS sort of behind the scenes. So if for some reason Rackspace is unable to field some type of question or expertise, we sort of have AWS as a backstop, as we're ramping to sort of make sure that question is sort of answered, and we can make sure our customers have the best experience and get the right answers. And so it is the total platform, but we do kind of have AWS as a backstop, at least in the beginning. And we've done this before. With Red Hat and with Microsoft, in the day we used to say that Red Hat had more Red Hat certified engineers than Red Hat, which was a true statement, and we developed such a sort of a mass of expertise that if any issue went back to Red Hat, it was a problem, right? There was something that was an issue, it was a bug, it was something they needed to know about. And we fully, we've seen that with Red Hat, we saw that with Microsoft, and so we fully anticipate that to be the case with AWS as well. But full disclosure, as we're launching, we've got a lot of expertise built up. But AWS is a big platform. It's constantly expanding. We have access to previews, access to certain things under NDA. We get early access to capabilities, so we can test them. We can be familiar with them. We can actually use them. So another important point here is that our entire Fanatical Support for AWS tooling is entirely built on AWS. So we take advantage of Dynamo and the same VPC design that we suggest for customers. We take advantage of ECS and Docker and Lambda and all these things. And so we're actually using these things ourselves for our application, and that knowledge then sort of translates into what we think our best practices are and how we suggest customers leverage AWS. And so the scope is the full platform, and as necessary, we will pull in AWS as we're ramping initially. But over time, we expect to be able to handle the vast majority of the platform ourselves.
One of the places that question usually leads to is a very specific question about a new technology and how does it relate back to my business, or how can I derive benefit from it. So like I mentioned earlier about who our target users are for this, generally businesses don't have the ability to staff technical experts to purely keep track of the level of innovation that Amazon is delivering. They're introducing services at such a rapid pace. If you evaluate at any one point in time as far as what your gap is from understanding the AWS platform to where they're currently at, just watch that triangle continue to diverge. Without having technical experts in your business specifically looking at what all the new services are and then comparing them back to your deployments as to how you can gain benefit, that gap is going to increase materially to the point where you're going to need to get third-party help. That's one of the primary things we can do to add benefit for businesses with our service as well. Like Erik mentioned, we are staying after their technology platform in a dogged way. It's been very fun too, is like one of the various things I did with the launch was to own the website, and we have a section on the website where we talk about our bona fides. So to update that number of technical certifications from 100 to 110 to 120 to 130 almost every couple of days. We're not done on that pace either. So as we're continuing to grow out the number of certifications we have, we're also continuing to march down understanding these services so that we can help our customers understand how to derive benefit from them. It's a big part of the value that you can derive from this offer.
Yeah, I think what's important about that too is you know, I was in Seattle several weeks back, and I was talking to an AWS employee, and they just said, I have given up trying to keep up with all of the updates, and it's really at a point where, you know, I don't know that any one person can sort of, you know, fully comprehend everything, you know, all the totality of AWS, or I don't want to say anybody, but it's a rare person who can do that. And so, you know, to really ensure that you're optimized for AWS requires a certain amount of scale of expertise to do that. And you know, I think particularly for small and medium businesses, that's kind of where, you know, you can tap into the expertise, you know, the economies of expertise of Rackspace, and for enterprises as well. But it does take a scale, and it takes sort of a specialization. So we've got, you know, a huge team of Rackers that are spun up on AWS, but you know, they are developing expertise across different dimensions of AWS. And so you know, I think the takeaway there is that it's not just the size of the pool, but that the pool allows you to capture both the breadth and sort of depth of the platform in a way that different folks can specialize, and then that body of knowledge can be rationalized to sort of bring to bear for customers in a way that you can sort of, you know, benefit from all of the changes and new things that are happening across the entire AWS platform.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say that Amazon created the MSP because of the recognition of this issue, but I believe that they are deriving significant benefit from having an MSP so they can have companies like Rackspace help their customers understand all of their how to apply the rapid cadence of their innovation back to get business benefit out of it.
On that topic of innovation and all the things that have that are continually coming out of the AWS platform, were there any Amazon announcements that were particularly exciting to you guys as we were there announcing our offering? Anything that you're most looking forward to customers taking advantage of and solving problems?
The one that excited me the most was Lambda support for Python, and so you know, that was met with a massive applause from the audience. But as we look to you know, the next generation of sort of you know, serverless, you know, just function executed, you know, cloud applications, you know, API gateways, and basically having serverless architectures, you know, Lambda's you know, really critical piece of that. And so there's just been almost from you know, the day Lambda was launched, there's been a huge ask for Python support. So that one in particular, I think, excites me the most.
Well, from a really practical standpoint, I actually thought that the snowball was an incredibly practical, cool idea, and it would have been a crime if he wouldn't have carried one of those things out on stage with him. So that there was a lot of buzz around that in the show floor as well. Migration, especially data migration, is a huge problem. Once you achieve data gravity with any one cloud vendor, it becomes incredibly painful to migrate. So what an elegant proposed solution. We'll see how it plays out. It's a great concept.
Yeah, that looks really interesting. Okay, so hey, real quick, let's make sure that we talk about the two different support levels that we had. I heard a little bit of talk there about the different best practices that we're going to recommend for our customers. So that's we have a couple of different support levels that both of them involve sharing our best practices and making sure that everybody's set up and using our fanatically opinionated best practices. But can you describe a little bit about how those two service levels differ?
I can start on that. So we have two service levels for now. Both are sort of aviation themed, which is appropriate for operating in the clouds. The first we call Navigator, and the second we call Aviator. And if you think about the job of a navigator in a sort of an aviation scenario, their job is to help the pilot arrive at their destination and avoid sort of pitfalls and bad weather and what have you. And so the job of a navigator is to in that service level, the job of Rackspace is to help guide our customers with AWS. So they are still responsible for their AWS resources, but Rackspace is making available our opinionation, our tooling, and our expertise to sort of backstop customers. And we've come across a number of customers who want to do things themselves, but they're just looking for sort of assistance, opinionation, tooling, and navigators designed for those kinds of customers. Our higher service level is called Aviator, and in that scenario we have left sort of the navigator chair and we've now moved to the co-pilot chair. So we are helping customers fly the plane either for or with them, and so we are managing your infrastructure. We will do custom architecture designs for you specifically. We will set up CloudWatch monitors, and when alarms fire, they will generate a ticket for Rackspace, and a racker will respond on your behalf at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so we are sharing that responsibility with you of operating your environment. And so whether you want us to be your guide or whether you want us to be your co-pilot, we have a service level that correlates to that. The other point that I'll add is we talked about sort of opinionation. One sort of opinion that sort of underpins a lot of what we built is that a separate AWS account is the appropriate construct for different environments. And so if you have a dev environment, a staging environment, a production environment, an AWS account provides the strongest permission boundary as opposed to trying to use IAM to control permissions across accounts across environments within a single account. It also provides a nice billing construct. So if you want to be able to understand your costs across environments, you're relying upon tags inside an account, and often developers don't always tag things, and so you end up with resources untagged and you don't know how to allocate costs. Whereas if you use an account structure, that kind of you get as part of that. And so our tooling and everything works across accounts and is sort of oriented in a way that you can easily add an account and that you can sort of manage permissions across accounts. What that means, though, is that we can attach either Navigator or Aviator at the AWS account level. And so what's nice about that is that if you want to have sort of a dev environment and a production environment, you can sort of have dev at Navigator where you get access to our tooling, but we're not managing that for you, and that's a very cost-effective way to do that. And then if you want us to sort of be your co-pilot for production, you can have that account at Aviator. And so we have two service levels, but they apply at the specific AWS account level, which we recommend you map to your environment.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that those change from environment to environment. That's good to know.
And the only thing to add to that would be if you're looking for more specific information to really call out the differences between the two, I think Erik articulated it really well. If you go to rackspace.com/AWS And then below the description of the service levels, there's a red bar that will actually take you to a table that can detail those features out for you with a high degree of specificity. If you have any more questions, scroll to the bottom, click chat, and we'll be happy to help you with any questions.
Great. So we've been talking about some of these more opinionated things that we are suggesting, or not just suggesting, right? So we are essentially saying that if you are going to work with us, these are some of the ways that you have to use the technology. Can you describe any of these ways that we're going to limit the way that our customers can operate? Is there a Can you just get into that a little bit more?
Sure, I can take that. So the way to think about this is that in Navigator, because we are your guide, we are going to be less strict on best practices. We're going to be opinionated, and we are going to recommend that you do things in a certain way, but you are ultimately operating your environment in Navigator. In order to make our tooling work, we are going to have a certain set of opinions that we need to lay down across your AWS accounts. A lot of the things we do you get by default by going with Rackspace, and they are consistent with AWS best practices, but we make them easy. So for example, by default, customers do not have access to the root account. We take the root account credentials and they are encrypted, and everything runs on AWS, so we're using KMS, and we lock those in sort of a secure vault. MFA is enabled and locked away. And what we found is that a number of customers would enable MFA, but they would have it like a soft token on someone's cell phone somewhere, which is, it's good that you have it enabled, but you really want that sort of locked away somewhere. Other customers take a physical token and like store it in a safety deposit box. But we sort of make that easy, and just you kind of get that by default. Another example is around permissions, and so by default we recommend that customers do not have any IAM users, and so we have a single Rackspace role on each account, and what we allow customers to do is to have identities in Rackspace that they can map across accounts to specific IAM roles or policies that will scope down permissions, but doing that doesn't require that you have any users in the target accounts. And so we use federation via Amazon's security token service to federate over, and we dynamically scope down permissions based on specifically what you want that user to have access to in that environment. And so all this to say, we are trying to remove the friction of using IAM and achieving least privilege and not having sort of named users across multiple accounts in a way where you have to go sort of clean that up if an employee were to leave, or have credentials that you have to rotate, because STS delivers time-limited credentials that need to sort of be regened on a periodic basis. And so these are just a couple of examples at Navigator of where we try to just by default create a model where customers are benefiting from Amazon best practices and Rackspace best practices, in the sense that we make it easy to use multiple AWS accounts. We make our CloudFormation template available for VPC design, and so when you create a VPC, that can actually be disastrous if you get that wrong, because you cannot go back and resize subnets and CIDRs, and we've seen a number of customers that hit VPC limits, and it's like a complete migration effectively. And so we spent a lot of time with Amazon and with our own teams thinking through what that looks like. Do you use security groups versus NACLs, etc., and understanding the pros and cons of each of those. And so we have opinionation about how to do that. That's sort of made available to customers at both service levels. When you then talk about Aviator, right, we are going to be managing customer environments, and so we're going to have sort of more opinionation and sort of a minimum bar that you have to achieve, if you will, for us to sort of want to co-manage that environment with you. And that's there's more variability there, because are you using Beanstalk, or are you using ECS, or are you just using EC2? Like there's a lot to get into there, but I think that the takeaway there is that we're going to have higher opinionation in Aviator than we will in Navigator, but sort of, across both service levels, we are gonna want you to sort of conform to what we think the best practices are, because that's how we can that makes the tooling useful for you, and that's how we sort of really effectively manage environments for customers.
That's great. That's one of the things that I've heard some customer feedback on, and just wanting more stringent security policies by default. And I think that we're really setting this up from the ground up to follow those more stringent security practices. So I think that's going to be great for customers and for everybody else. All right, so we are getting to the end of this hour, and I really appreciate Erik and Tom, you guys taking some time out to join us on this, and want to get you guys back to your jobs. Real quick though, let's talk about how can a customer get set up if they're already a customer, or if they are looking for somebody to start managing their AWS. What's that first step?
Well, definitely the first step is getting educated on what the offer is, so that you've become familiar with exactly what we can do to help you. So Rackspace.com/AWS is the place to get started. You'll see there we describe what the 2 service levels are, and then you can click into a feature and pricing table. From there, you can jump off into getting signed up, or if you have more questions before you're ready to sign up, you can jump into a chat with a Racker, and then after that, it would basically guide you through the sign-up process. Erik, do you want to talk a little bit about what happens once you get access to the control panel?
Yep. Once you so signing up doesn't commit you to any fees from Rackspace. When you create your first AWS account and you assign it either a service level of Navigator or Aviator, and you start incurring usage, that's sort of when the fees begin. When you add an AWS account, we trigger a ticket or a notification to what we call our technical onboarding managers, or TOMs. And so at both Navigator and Aviator, you will have someone assigned to you to sort of help you onboard and understand the offer and how you sort of get started. And so that process will kick in as you sort of add an AWS account. And then from there it's phone or ticket if you require assistance from Rackspace. And if you're signing up for Aviator, the service at that level is going to be higher, and so the Tom in Navigator is really going to help you kind of onboard and understand how to get access to our user manual, the capabilities that are available to you, provide some sort of initial guidance. Whereas in Aviator, we're going to help you architect for AWS and migrate to AWS and whatever you need at the Aviator level. So there's a much higher sort of onboarding engagement at Aviator to help you get from sort of sign up all the way through to your app sort of running on AWS through a custom architecture process and any migration that is required. But like Tom said, it all starts with www.rackspace.com/AWS and then signing up via that page. The other resource I'll mention is we've built a product guide. So the website is really meant to sort of give you an overview of the offer, the pricing, sort of the capabilities that we offer. The product guide is available at manage.rackspace.com/docs/product-guide. There's a link to it from www as well. But in here we've spent a lot of time to really articulate the specifics of the offer. If you want to know exactly what are all of the account defaults that we lay down in Navigator, that's all listed there. If you want to understand, there's a feature we haven't talked about called Passport that allows you to have us sort of manage keys across your fleet of instances to make authentication simpler. Like Passport is described in detail. We have other features called Compass and Logbook and things we didn't discuss today, but all of the detail about what those features are, how they work, how they benefit you, that's all in the product guide. So definitely check out www, but if you want more detail, certainly take a look at the product guide as well.
Yep, and as always, like we're a tech company as the phone. So if you want to sign up and deal with us via email, if you want to give us a call on the main line number, we also have a phone number posted on the rackspace.com/AWS site. If you look in the header and the footer, we also have a link to chat. We are very accessible. So ultimately, we have resources by which you can get your own questions answered firsthand, or you can reach out and contact us. So ultimately, we want to make sure that you have the information that you need to know how we can help you with your AWS needs.
Yeah, absolutely. We are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to help our customers. And this Fanatical Support for AWS is just another way to help our customers meet those business needs. So if you have any questions, if you're already a customer, call up and talk to your account manager, and we'll be happy to help you out there. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up, but again, I mean, this is something that we'll definitely have more on as we continue to grow the support offering for our customers. So,
yeah, and there's certainly things we didn't get a chance to talk about that we'll cover as well. Plenty that was announced that we didn't dig too far into today. So stay tuned to these shows in the future, and we'll cover some of that as we go along.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thanks Tom and Erik again for taking the time to sit down and talk with us on this. And I guess we'll say goodbye and see everybody next week. Take it easy.
See everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.